So the time has finally come. It is time to finally enter into the upper half of this unique top 10 list. Yay! So who's going to start us off in the second half then? Who had the honor of being the first entrant of this final half? Why, it's going to be the original Xbox, throwing their hat into this console's war and ring on November 15th of 2001, and with an estimated sales record of over 24 million units sold. Microsoft is our most recent entrant in this home video game consoles maker war, to my knowledge, and on this list. Or they're one of the more recent entrants that is still going strong and viable enough to this day amongst these other giants of this console's gaming business. And amongst the big three at the time of its initial release, Microsoft was definitely the youngest. And the news of this computer software giant named Microsoft getting themselves into this already incredibly competitive consoles war arena was a humongous shock and surprise. Not just for myself, but basically the entire gaming world as well. It was like something completely out of left field to me and so many others. But as alluded to, you know what? They're not dead yet. They've stuck around and have remained in this fight from their first day till this day. Though I'm not so sure if they've ever really won any console generation, and the closest they ever got was probably with that 360 generation. But without all of those red rings of death situations, how many were they really able to sell throughout that 360 run? Anyways, so getting back to that first big splash of theirs in this console's gaming war, how did they do? Because they say, you don't get a second chance at a first impression. So how was that first impression of theirs with their first console design then? I wouldn't say that they absolutely knocked it out of the park, but they sure as heck did hit that fence and avoided any death catches on their way down. In other words, for first swing, they sure as heck did do quite well for themselves. In fact, that first swing of theirs did so well that it landed them at this number 5 spot on this list of my 10 most beautifully designed gaming consoles of all time. So allow me to start by just saying that I have always liked that Xbox name. I've always thought that it was an absolute genius of a name. And Microsoft's first foray into the console's gaming world was a very appropriately designed console for that name's sake. And that exterior was just as intelligently designed as its name was intelligently thought up. It was also pretty minimalistic, but not too little or not too much. Just perfectly fitting for what it was going for and for what it needed to do. And what do you know? Its design has an X theme to it. What a surprise. No surprise at all, actually. And that main design feature or decision, with that big overarching X letter on its top side there, that even spills over into its four corners so dominantly, I'd say was thoroughly and totally appropriately implemented, as well as it just being so very smartly and creatively executed overall. But what about if there were any downsides and detractors to it all? I've been singing its praise for the last couple of minutes now, but it can't be all roses and sunshine, can it? Nope, it's not. That's why it's not even amongst the top 3 of this list. Although just to be one of the 10 best out of the hundreds and hundreds that come before it is commendable enough already. So out with it then. What did I think were the only downsides to this? Otherwise, overall great first Xbox home console design. Well, after you do get past that general shape and overall design of it, and you get into its nitty-gritty, or the finer details of it all, I just wish that it would have had a much more sharper, more chiseled and refined look to it. And after all of those praises that I've lavished upon it, at the end of the day, it was all still just a bit rough around the edges, as well as being a bit too mellow and toned down for my taste when it came to those nitty-gritties or finer details. But once again, and all in all, it's been a stupendously designed home console, and especially for a first rodeo by this newcomer named Microsoft. So that's why it's here on this list, and pretty high up on it as well. But it's not over yet. We still have 4 more spots to go. So who is going to be the runner-up to our top 3 finishers of such a unique list as this then? Why, it is going to be perhaps the least liked and arguably most controversial PlayStation of them all, the PlayStation 3. But fortunately for it, with a list such as this, its sales numbers do not matter as much, and the controversies surrounding it aren't nearly as important with our particular discussion and examination here. So the PS3 dropped on a cold day in November 11th of 2006 and went on to sell a solid 87 million units as of March 31st, 2017. And I thought that was a nice natural evolution of that highly successful PlayStation brand with their exterior designs. Also in life, there's just something inherently special about our third try, third attempt, or just third whatever in general. Maybe that's why there's that common saying of how the third time is the charm. Well, anyways, this third design for them really was quite the charm because it just had such a cool and futuristic cutting-edge look for the time. And would y'all take a look at that super glossy finish as well? Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman would be proud. It just seems like nothing can really be futuristic until it has had a significant enough amount of chrome or gloss to it. Well, to top it all off, how about that super cool and super unique Spider-Man font that was slapped across that middle section there? So all in all, it was sleek, unique, and very smartly designed, as well as being done so very creatively too. What more could a console design appreciator ask for? Well, maybe just a little bit more, because this journey of discovery isn't over yet. Because our final three, the bronze, the silver, and the gold finishers, have yet to be decided. So don't go anywhere. Keep those eyes and ears right here, because we are about to go find out just that. So who's going to be our third place winner on a list that has been made up of a bunch of already super rare winners? To begin with, well, our bronze place finisher is going to be the super cutesy and adorable looking little Dreamcaster. That is the Sega Dreamcast. And releasing on November 27th of 1998. The really clean looking and fetching little Dreamcast went on to sell just over 9 million units. Yes, it's another Sega console that has made it to this list, as I kind of spoiled it for you all at the beginning of this all. And once again, although Sega has never won any consoles generation sales award my knowledge, one thing that has always stayed impressively consistent with them is their impressively consistently beautifully designed consoles throughout all of those generations. And of course, this lovely little Dreamcast was no exception. Minimalistic and elegant, as well as adorable looking, its look reminds me of another cutesy and scrappy looking little underdog product, the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 7, with both having been quite the adorable and cutesy looking products, but at the same time, just ready to do battle and to go to war at any moment when the situation calls for it. And what about that insanely underrated logo of the Dreamcasts? We got to talk about that amazingly designed logo. No successful console has ever been without a successful logo, or I have yet to see anyone be able to do that. And yes, the Dreamcast was quite the commercial flop, but my point still stands strongly. I have yet to see a successful gaming console without an incredible logo. Having an awesome and highly distinct, creative, and memorable logo has basically always been a necessity in this ongoing console's battle, whether you were that generation's top dog or its struggling bottom pooch. So yes, the Dreamcast had an unforgettable logo and an unmistakable body too, to be remembered by. But it's just all too bad that it was just not as successful as Sega would like it to be, and was also their last hurrah as a consoles manufacturer in this ongoing consoles war. But hey, at least they went out with a bang with such an incredible looker as the Dreamcast. As a former consoles maker,